Good morning. Welcome to 7 News. 2 teenagers have been killed after the car they were travelling in crashed into a pole in Sydney's northwest. Emergency services were called to McGrath's Hill overnight. Despite paramedics' best efforts, the 2 teenage passengers died at the scene. The 17-year-old driver was taken to hospital with serious injuries. The cause of the crash is still being investigated. Meanwhile, 2 people have died after a car and a truck collided in southwestern New South Wales. It happened on the Sturt Highway at Hay. The 71-year-old male driver of the car and the female front passenger died at the scene. The 2 backseat passengers suffered serious injuries. The female was taken to a local hospital while the male was airlifted to Melbourne. The 27-year-old driver of the truck suffered minor injuries. Penny Wong is facing growing criticism as she travels to Israel for choosing not to visit the sites of Hamas's October 7 attack. Relatives of the hostages still being held captive are urging the Foreign Minister to see the places where the violence occurred. Her trip comes as tensions in the region continue to increase. US officials have confirmed Houthi rebels have struck an American container ship with a missile in the Gulf of Aden off the coast of Yemen. The Iran-backed militia has promised more chaos in the Red Sea after weeks of attacks on cargo ships bound for Israeli ports. The attack marks more violence as war in the region escalates. It's been revealed the PM is considering fast-tracking cost of living relief for millions of Australians ahead of the federal budget in May. Let's go live to Rob Scott in Canberra for the details. Good morning, Rob. Some measures could be unveiled much sooner.
Morning. Yes, they could be, Jodie, and this comes as the Prime Minister faces a crucial by-election in Melbourne in the next couple of months, triggered by the death of Labor's Peter Murphy. Now, the government is under huge pressure, as we know, to do more to address inflation and to help lower the costs of housing, electricity and grocery bills. And while cash handouts are not on as well, that assistance could come before the May budget. Now, this Dunkley by-election obviously is providing more political impetus to speed up the delivery of those measures, as the government really tries to build up trust with voters who are growing increasingly frustrated with this cost of living crisis. Mr Albanese has also defended the $20 billion a year Stage 3 tax cuts in the face of what is growing pressure, even from within Labor, to dump them, saying that they won't just help the top end of town, but will also help to deliver relief to those earning as little as $45,000. And he has got a staunch ally in that, with the South Australian Premier Peter Malinauskas fully endorsing the cuts. Jodie.
OK, Rob Scott in Canberra, thank you. The Bishop of Broome has been questioned by police as his home was raided by detectives from the Child Sex Abuse Squad. It comes after a top-secret investigation ordered by the Pope into Christopher Saunders levelled a number of sexual misconduct allegations at him. Bishop Saunders has denied any wrongdoing. The driver accused of a horror Hunter Valley bus crash that killed 10 people is now facing an additional 26 charges. 59-year-old Brett Button is currently on bail for 63 charges after allegedly losing control of a bus carrying wedding guests last June. It's understood police expect to lay the further charges, including 10 counts of manslaughter, when Button faces court tomorrow. The family of a murdered Melbourne doctor are calling for justice following his death during a violent home invasion. Ashley Gordon's body was found less than a kilometre from his Doncaster home after chasing down the alleged intruders. His sister Natalie wants him to be remembered for his kind heart and cheeky personality and is urging the suspects to turn themselves in. No arrests have been made and no weapon has been found. A second Woolworths store has been vandalised in Queensland following a decision to stop selling Australia Day merchandise. The Metro store at Tenerife was targeted just 2 days after another incident at Cleveland Central Shopping Centre. The vandals defacing the front of the store with pro-Australia Day graffiti and setting off a flare, prompting a fire brigade call-out. It's unknown if the 2 incidents are connected. The new King and Queen of Denmark have hit the ground running, getting back to work after ascending to the throne. Let's go live to Hugh Whitfeld in Copenhagen. Good morning, Hugh. Their first official engagement was in Parliament.
Yeah, Jodie, back here to Christiansborg for their first duties as King and Queen, the first full day of Frederick's reign on a very snowy and freezing day here in the Danish capital. Frederick, Mary and their eldest son, Crown Prince Christian, arriving to the Parliament, and it was a real family affair. Prince Joachim, who is Frederick's younger brother, has been in a bit of a rift with other members of the family after his children were stripped of their princely titles. He is now well and truly back in the fold. It seems as though relations have been repaired. Queen Margrethe, who abdicated, of course, 24 hours ago, was there as well. It seems as though she's going to take on somewhat of a Queen Mother type role. And it was the first time, actually, that Mary didn't have to curtsy Queen Margrethe, because they are both now queens. They are essentially equals. Inside the parliamentary chamber, the MPs gave the new King and Queen 9 hurrahs, which is essentially the Danish version of 3 cheers that we're more commonly used to. The House Speaker describing Mary as the King's wise and composed wife. And we've been given a sneak peek behind the scenes of the events on Proclamation Day, showing just how the family held it together. Mary in the throne room that overlooks the balcony just behind the doors, together with their 4 children, as Frederick walked out onto the balcony and then, of course, was joined by his wife. Very much a big family day for that family of 6, those 4 teenage children in particular, along with their parents, now King and Queen. It's been a momentous 24 hours here in Denmark, Jodie.
Sure has. Hugh Whitfeld in Copenhagen, thank you. After a year's hiatus, the Emmy Awards will be back this morning, and a number of Aussies are up for awards. Sarah Snook is nominated for her role in Succession and Elizabeth Debicki for The Crown, while Murray Bartlett could win for his guest role in The Last of Us. A quick check of sport now. Alex de Minaur has advanced through to the second round of the Australian Open after Canadian Milos Raonic retired early with a hip injury. Raonic won the first set despite requiring a medical timeout. The Demon fought back to win the second set before going up 2-love in the third, but Raonic decided to pull the pin with persistent pain.
Develop a more aggressive playing style, and I think that's what's been getting me the wins against the top players, and obviously gives me a lot of confidence knowing that I can do this.
Naomi Osaka's long-awaited 18-month return to tennis was met with a warm welcome in Melbourne, but the Japanese superstar was defeated by 16th seed Caroline Garcia, 6-4, 7-6. Cam Green says moving up to number 4 will allow him more time to play his natural game. Green has only batted at 6 or 7 for Australia in test matches, but has thrived at number 4 for Western Australia.
I've always felt maybe a touch rushed at 6, especially after Heady. He makes it look a bit too easy at number 5. So, I've always felt like I've maybe had to push the game along, where I feel like number 4 is my natural game, where, I can take my time and settle in.
Watch Green's first test at number 4 against the West Indies tomorrow here on 7. Checking Tuesday's weather now. Showers in Brisbane heading for a top of 29 degrees. Showers and 27 in Sydney. A shower or 2 heading for 23 in Canberra. Wind easing and sunny with a top of 30 in Melbourne. Sunny and 29 the top in Hobart. Adelaide partly cloudy heading for 33 degrees. Perth partly cloudy and 41 today. And Darwin a possible storm and heavy falls heading for a top of 31 degrees. Next on 7 Early News, poor Postie, a delivery man spill that's definitely worth crying over. And holiday boost, which workers are in line for 5 weeks annual leave. Welcome back. Postie has had a very unlucky day after the box of wine he was delivering broke open. Multiple bottles were sent falling to the ground, smashing open. The man who posted the video says his wife was working from home and heard the commotion. They then spent the afternoon cleaning up. A man has been attacked by a dingo on Gari. Rangers say the man left his car at the Hook Point barge area when he was bitten on the back of the leg. The man then retreated inside his vehicle and the dingo left the area. Barge staff provided first aid and the man was not seriously injured. It follows multiple dingo attacks in the area in recent weeks. Police are on the hunt for an inmate who escaped from custody in New South Wales. 24-year-old Zach Riley was last seen at a corrective services facility in Broken Hill at around midday yesterday. Anyone who sees him is urged not to approach him, but to call 000 immediately. Republicans will today cast their first votes in the primary race for this year's elections, with Iowa voters facing sub-zero temperatures. Let's go live to Miley Hogan in Des Moines. Good morning, Miley. What are the conditions like for voters?
Jodie, good morning. Well, you can see it. It's really difficult actually to explain what this feels like. At the moment, it's around minus 20 degrees Celsius and is expected to get even colder than that. Tonight, they're forecasting a wind chill of around minus 40 degrees, and that is when voters are going to be heading outside to go to these caucus sites. Now, the way it works is people need to show up in person and debate, discuss at school halls, churches, even their neighbours' homes about the candidate they want to select. And then they have to publicly support that candidate. At this stage, Donald Trump is the clear favourite. But the question is, will this weather cause an upset from the campaign teams? They are worried that people might just stay home and not show up because it will be dangerous to go outside. This is what Donald Trump had to say about that yesterday.
You got to get out. You can't sit home. If you're sick as a dog, you say, darling, I got to make it. Even if you vote and then pass away, it's worth it.
Now, the two closest rivals, Nikki Haley and Ron DeSantis, are likely battling it out for second place, but their campaign teams are hoping that some of those Trump supporters do choose to stay home so that they can lift their performance. The vote starts in a matter of hours, and those campaign teams are also out trying to organise buses to collect people from their homes to bring them to this caucus site. We'll bring you the results when they come in, Jodie.
OK, Miley Hogan in freezing Iowa, thank you. At least one person has been killed after a severe storm hit the French island of Reunion in the Indian Ocean off Madagascar. Hundreds of thousands of people were told to bunker down in their homes for 36 hours as Cyclone Bilal brought chaos to the island. Wind gusts of up to 170 kilometres per hour were recorded and more than a quarter of homes were left without power. Thousands of farmers have gathered in Berlin to protest a new plan to scrap diesel tax breaks. In tractors, they formed a massive column from the Brandenburg Gate. It follows a week of demonstrations from the farmers, which saw highway entrances blocked and traffic stopped by protesters. SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket has launched from Florida overnight, carrying 23 satellites for the Starlink internet system. The launch from Cape Canaveral was previously delayed due to the intense weather sweeping the US. The mission only lasted 8 minutes for the rocket before it returned to land on a drone ship in the Atlantic. Retail workers across the country are now in line for up to 6 weeks annual leave. It's part of a new push to keep staff rested as the union calls for it to become the standard practice nationwide.
After years of low wages and productivity gains, Australian retail workers are fighting for more annual leave.
Businesses have got to do the right thing by their workers and realise that the productivity growth gains need to be shared fairly.
IKEA's 4,000 Australian workers are now entitled to 5 weeks off, or 6 if they work overnight shifts. Bunnings will increase its annual leave from 4 to 5 weeks over the next 3 years as part of a new enterprise agreement. Big W and Apple workers are set to follow suit, and so is the Reject Shop.
It's got multiple benefits. It's got the health and welfare benefits of actually having time off away from a high-pressured work environment that retail has become with a lot of customer abuse and violence.
Companies making the change say it creates a well-rested workforce and helps attract and retain staff, but smaller businesses might not cope.
Adding an extra week of annual leave to their cost base might be a stretch too far. So Fingers crossed it does, and they can see the benefit.
The Union for Retail, Warehousing and Fast Food is now working with a range of other major companies to introduce 5 weeks of annual leave, including supermarkets, Coles and Woolworths.
They're going quite well, these companies, and they need to share their productivity gains with their workers.
Melina Saris, 7 News.
Next on 7 Early News, people told to work from home as Victoria's train network faces another strike shutdown. And the legendary Rockers rumoured to be heading to South Australia for the Adelaide 500. Victorians are being told to work from home next week as V-Line workers plan to strike for the second time in a month after pay negotiations failed. Services will come to a halt for 4 hours next Thursday, January 25th, with the union warning the entire network could be impacted. They're demanding a 17% pay rise and better working conditions. The world could see its first trillionaire within a decade, according to anti-poverty organisation Oxfam International. A new inequality report says that's the reality, with the rate at which the world's top billionaires are multiplying their wealth.
We will have a trillionaire within a decade, whereas to fight poverty, we need more than 200 years.
It says the pandemic has supercharged the economic divide, with nearly 5 billion people made poorer in that time. For the first time in 70 years, there's a new monarch on our money. Crowds have flocked to Perth's Mint for the launch of their first dollar coins to feature King Charles, some collectors coming from as far as the UK.
As a new era for the Aussie dollar rolls in, so too did those eager to get their hands on a piece of history.
How long have you been lined up for?
From 11 o'clock last night.
I'm actually getting coins for my son who's away, FIFO.
My grandchildren will probably say, oh, this is a crazy grandfather that queued up to collect this coin.
Made from pure silver and produced at the Perth Mint, this is Australia's first precious metal collector coin to feature King Charles III. The monarch's effigy struck on the currency by the Governor of WA, who says His Majesty might soon have one of his own.
The King and Queen have indicated that they are coming to Australia. It'll be a great opportunity to be able to present them with, in fact, this coin.
Just 7,500 of these historic coins bearing the new monarch have been minted, making them a rare prize for collectors, some even travelling from overseas to get their hands on one.
I've come from the UK, from Devon, so we planned a holiday to come over here, specifically to be here.
While diehard fans forked out $130 for one of the prize coins, they're soon expected to be selling for hundreds more online. Unfortunately for those who still have their eyes on one, it may be a case of a day late and $1 short.
If you weren't in that queue, you might be out of luck.
Nick Overall, 7 News.
Taking a look at sport now, Alex de Minaur has advanced through to the second round of the Australian Open after Canadian Milos Raonic retired early with a hip injury. Raonic won the first set despite requiring a medical timeout. The Demon fought back to win the second set before going up 2-love in the third, but Raonic decided to pull the pin with his persistent pain.
Develop a more aggressive playing style and I think that's what's been getting me the wins against the top players, and obviously gives me a lot of confidence knowing that I can do this.
Naomi Osaka's long-awaited 18-month return to tennis was met with a warm welcome in Melbourne, but the Japanese superstar was defeated by 16th seed Caroline Garcia, 6-4, 7-6. Cam Green says moving up to number 4 will allow him more time to play his natural game. Green has only batted at 6 or 7 for Australia in test matches, but has thrived at number 4 for WA.
I've always felt maybe a touch rushed at 6, especially after Heady. He makes it look a bit too easy at number 5. So, I've always felt like I've maybe had to push the game along, where I feel like number 4 is my natural game, where, I can take my time and settle in.
You can watch Green's first test at number 4 against the West Indies tomorrow here on 7. Legendary rockers Pearl Jam could be headed to Adelaide. It's understood the state government is trying to lure the US band to headline this year's Adelaide 500. It would be a major win for South Australians, with no guarantee Pearl Jam would otherwise include Adelaide on its highly anticipated Australian tour. This year's Adelaide 500 is scheduled for November 14 to 17. Next on 7 Early News, a closer look at how the weather's shaping up in your part of the country. Taking a look at the weather around the country now. Cloud in the northern tropics with the monsoon trough and lows is causing heavy rain and thunderstorms. Cloud over Queensland, New South Wales, WA, South Australia and Victoria in troughs is triggering showers and storms, some of them intense, while cloud along the east coast in moist winds is bringing heavy showers and storms. Around the capital's showers in Brisbane today, heading for a top of 29 degrees. Showers and 27 in Sydney. A shower or two heading for 23 in Canberra. Wind easing and sunny for Melbourne, 30 degrees. Sunny and 29 in Hobart today. Adelaide, partly cloudy, heading for a top of 33. Partly cloudy and 41 degrees in Perth today. And Darwin, a possible storm and heavy falls, heading for 31. And that's 7 Early News.